What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors walks onto a talk show expecting a normal conversation, only to be blindsided by a host who seems more interested in creating drama than conducting an interview? In just 33 seconds of one specific comment, Tamron Hall would go from friendly host to the most talked about person on television, and not in a good way. Samuel L. Jackson walked onto the set with that signature cool confidence he's known for. The audience erupted in applause. This was supposed to be a straightforward promotional interview. He had a new movie coming out, and these talk show appearances were part of the job. He'd done hundreds of them over his long career. He settled into the guest chair, smiled at the cameras, and prepared for what he thought would be another easy conversation. Tamron Hall welcomed him with a bright smile. "Samuel L. Jackson, everybody." The audience clapped again. "Thank you so much for being here." "Happy to be here," Samuel replied, looking relaxed. "So let's talk about your new film," Tamron started. "You've been acting for decades now. You've been in so many incredible movies. But I have to ask, and I think everyone's wondering this, do you ever feel like maybe you're too old to still be doing action scenes?" The audience went quiet. You could feel the temperature in the room change. Samuel's smile faltered just a little bit. "Excuse me?" he said. "Well, you know," Tamron continued, leaning forward like she was about to share some juicy gossip. "You're at an age where most people are thinking about retirement. Shouldn't you be slowing down? I mean, watching someone your age trying to do fight scenes, doesn't that seem a little, I don't know, desperate?" Samuel sat up straighter. "Desperate? I'm in better shape than most people half my age. I do my own stunts. I train every single day." Sure, Tamron said, waving her hand dismissively. "But don't you think there's something a little sad about it? Like, wouldn't it be more dignified to step aside and let younger actors have their moment?" "Let me get this straight," Samuel said, his voice getting firmer. "You invited me here to promote my film, and now you're telling me I should retire?" Tamron laughed, but it wasn't a friendly laugh. It was the kind of laugh that made it clear she didn't really care about his answer. "I'm just saying what everyone's thinking. I mean, come on, how many more action movies can you possibly make? Don't you have enough money by now?" "This isn't about money," Samuel said. "This is about my passion. This is about my craft. I love what I do." "Your craft," Tamron repeated, making air quotes with her fingers. "Is that what we're calling it? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're just cashing checks at this point." The audience shifted uncomfortably. A few people gasped. This was going way beyond normal interview banter. This was getting personal. Samuel took a breath, clearly trying to stay calm. "You know what, Tamron? I came here in good faith. I came here to talk about a project that my entire team worked incredibly hard on. Hundreds of people poured their hearts into this film, and you're sitting here disrespecting not just me, but everyone involved." "Oh, please," Tamron said, rolling her eyes. "Don't try to make this about other people. This is about you wanting to stay relevant. This is about you not being able to accept that your time has passed." "My time has passed?" Samuel's voice rose slightly. "I just signed a 3-picture deal. My last movie made over $400 million worldwide. What exactly are you basing this on?" "I'm basing it on reality," Tamron shot back. "Look, I get it. You were huge in the 90s. You had your moment. But that was then. This is now. Don't you think it's time to gracefully exit the stage?" Samuel stared at her for a long moment. "Gracefully exit? Like you're doing with your ratings?" The audience collectively inhaled. Tamron's face changed. The fake smile disappeared. "What did you just say to me?" "You heard me," Samuel said. "You want to talk about relevance? Your show has been struggling for months. Everyone knows it. So maybe before you start telling other people when they should quit, you should take a look in the mirror." Tamron's eyes narrowed. "How dare you come onto my show and disrespect me like that?" "How dare I?" Samuel laughed, but there was no humor in it. You've been disrespecting me since I sat down. You think I don't see what this is? This whole thing was a setup. You wanted to create a viral moment. You wanted to get people talking. Well, congratulations. You got it. I ask tough questions, Tamron said defensively. That's what real journalists do. Maybe you're just not used to being challenged. Challenged? Samuel shook his head. There's a difference between challenging someone and being deliberately insulting. You crossed that line about 5 minutes ago. If you can't handle a little criticism, maybe you really are too old for this business, Tamron said. That was it. That was the moment. Samuel stood up from his chair. The studio went completely silent. Even the cameras seemed to hold their breath. You know what? Samuel said quietly, but his voice carried through the entire studio. I've been doing this for over 30 years. I've sat across from hundreds of interviewers. Good ones, bad ones, everything in between. But I have never, and I mean never, been treated with such blatant disrespect. Oh, here we go, Tamron said. The dramatic exit. How original. You think this is about drama? Samuel asked. This is about dignity. This is about self-respect. I don't care how badly your show needs ratings. I'm not going to sit here and let you use me as a punching bag for your entertainment. Nobody's using you, Tamron insisted. You're being oversensitive. Can't you take a joke? A joke? Samuel's voice was incredulous. You spent the last 10 minutes telling me I'm washed up, desperate, and irrelevant. Where's the punchline, Tamron? Please, explain to me what's funny about any of that. Tamron shifted in her seat. For the first time, she looked slightly uncomfortable. Look, if I offended you, that wasn't my intention. If you offended me, Samuel repeated, there's no if about it. You absolutely offended me. And the worst part is, I don't even think you understand why. Then enlighten me, Tamron said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Samuel took a moment, composing himself. When he spoke again, his voice was calmer, but somehow more powerful. When you invite someone onto your show, you have a responsibility. You have a responsibility to treat them with basic human decency. You can ask hard questions. You can push back on answers. But what you don't do is launch personal attacks disguised as journalism. Personal attacks? Tamron scoffed. I asked you about your age. That's a legitimate topic. No, Samuel corrected her. You didn't ask me about my age. You implied that I was too old, too desperate, too washed up to still be working. You questioned my dignity. You dismissed my entire career. And then, when I called you out on it, you tried to gaslight me by saying it was all just jokes. The audience started murmuring. Some people were nodding along with Samuel's words. I think you're blowing this way out of proportion, Tamron said, but her voice had less confidence now. Am I? Samuel asked. Let me ask you something. If I had sat here and talked to you the way you've been talking to me, what would have happened? If I had questioned your relevance, your talent, your right to have this job, how long would it have taken before security escorted me out? Tamron didn't answer. Exactly, Samuel said. Because you know it would have been completely unacceptable. But somehow, you thought it was okay to do it to me. This is my show, Tamron said. And there it was, the entitlement. The real reason behind everything. I can ask whatever questions I want. You're right, Samuel nodded. It is your show, and you can ask whatever you want. But I don't have to sit here and take it. That's the part you seem to be missing. Just because you have a platform doesn't mean you get to abuse it. Abuse it? Tamron stood up now too. I'm trying to have a real conversation. I'm trying to go deeper than the usual promotional nonsense. By insulting me, Samuel's voice rose again. By telling me I should quit? By calling my work desperate? That's your idea of going deeper? I'm pushing you, Tamron insisted. I'm making you think. No, Samuel said firmly. You're being cruel. There's a difference. And the fact that you can't see that difference is exactly why this conversation is over. You can't just walk out, Tamron said. "Watch me," Samuel replied. He started to remove his microphone. The production assistant nearby looked panicked, unsure of what to do. Samuel handed the mic pack to them, carefully, professionally, even in the middle of this heated moment. "You're really going to do this?" Tamron asked. "You're really going to walk off my show?" "I'm not walking off your show," Samuel said. "I'm walking away from disrespect. Big difference." "This is so unprofessional," Tamron said, and the irony of that statement was almost too much. Samuel actually laughed at that. Unprofessional? Coming from someone who just spent 15 minutes trying to humiliate their guest? That's rich. "I wasn't trying to humiliate you," Tamron protested. "Then what were you trying to do?" Samuel challenged her. "Seriously, explain it to me. What was the goal here? What did you think was going to happen?" Tamron opened her mouth, then closed it. She didn't have an answer, or at least not one she wanted to say out loud. "That's what I thought," Samuel said. "You didn't think. You just wanted your moment. You wanted something that would trend on social media. You wanted people talking. Well, you got it. I hope it was worth it." "Everything I said was fair," Tamron said, but she sounded less sure of herself now. "Fair?" Samuel shook his head. "You want to talk about fair? Okay, let's talk about fair. Is it fair that I took time out of my schedule to come here? Is it fair that I prepared for this interview, thinking it would be a normal conversation? Is it fair that instead of asking me about my work, my process, my experiences, you decided to make this about tearing me down?" The audience was completely silent now. Every eye in the studio was locked on the two of them. "I ask everyone tough questions," Tamron said weakly. "Tough questions and insulting questions are not the same thing," Samuel countered. "When you interview a politician and press them on their policies, that's tough. When you interview a CEO and challenge them on their business practices, that's tough. But when you tell an actor they're too old and desperate, that's not tough. That's just mean." "You're being too sensitive," Tamron tried again. "No," Samuel said, his voice cutting through her excuse. "I'm being appropriately offended, and the fact that you keep trying to minimize my reaction tells me everything I need to know about you." "About me?" Tamron's voice pitched higher. "You don't know anything about me. I know that you think your position gives you the right to treat people however you want," Samuel said. "I know that you're more interested in creating controversy than conducting meaningful interviews. I know that when someone stands up to you, your first instinct is to deflect and deny rather than take responsibility." "I don't have to take this," Tamron said. "You're right," Samuel agreed. "You don't. You could apologize. You could acknowledge that you crossed a line. You could show a little humility. But something tells me that's not going to happen." Tamron crossed her arms. "Why should I apologize? I didn't do anything wrong." And there it was, the confirmation of everything Samuel had been saying. "Okay," Samuel said quietly. "We're done here." He turned to the audience. "I want to apologize to all of you. You came here expecting a fun show, and instead you got this. That's not fair to you. I'm sorry you had to witness this." Some people in the audience started clapping. It started small, just a few people, but it grew. Within seconds, half the audience was applauding Samuel. Tamron's face flushed red. "Are you seriously turning my own audience against me?" "I'm not doing anything," Samuel said. "They're reacting to what they saw. That's not on me. That's on you." "Get out," Tamron said suddenly. "If you're going to leave, then leave. Don't stand here and lecture me." "I wasn't planning on staying," Samuel said, "but I wanted to make sure everyone understood why. I wanted to make sure there was no confusion about what happened here today." "What happened here," Tamron said icily, "is that a guest couldn't handle a little heat and threw a tantrum." "Keep telling yourself that," Samuel said. "Maybe if you say it enough times, you'll start to believe it. But everyone in this room knows the truth. Everyone watching at home will know the truth. You can spin this however you want, but the cameras caught everything. "I'm not spinning anything," Tamron insisted. "I'm telling it like it is." "No," Samuel corrected her one final time. "You're telling it like you want it to be. There's a difference." He looked around the studio one more time, taking it all in. The cameras, the crew, the audience, all of them watching this unprecedented moment unfold. "To anyone who works on this show," Samuel said, addressing the crew directly, "you deserve better than this. You deserve to work on a program that treats people with respect. I hope you find that." Then he looked back at Tamron. "And you, I hope you figure out what kind of host you want to be. Because right now, you're the kind who drives away good guests and alienates audiences. That's not a sustainable model." "I don't need advice from you," Tamron snapped. "Clearly," Samuel said, "because if you were open to advice, to feedback, to any kind of self-reflection, we wouldn't be in this situation." He started walking toward the exit. The cameras followed him. The audience watched in stunned silence. This was really happening. Samuel L. Jackson was actually walking off the show. "Don't bother coming back," Tamron called after him. Samuel stopped. He turned around slowly. "Don't worry," he said, his voice carrying across the studio. "I wouldn't dream of it." And with that, he walked through the studio doors. The sound of them closing behind him echoed through the space. For a moment, nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The show was supposed to continue. But how could it? How do you recover from something like that? Tamron stood there, still on her stage, surrounded by cameras and crew and an audience that had just watched her lose control of her own show. Her face was a mixture of anger and embarrassment and defiance. She knew this would be everywhere by tomorrow. She knew people would be talking about this for weeks, maybe months. But instead of taking a moment to reflect, instead of considering what had just happened and her role in it, she turned to the audience with a forced smile. "Well," she said, trying to sound casual, "that was something." A few uncomfortable laughs scattered through the crowd, but most people just sat there, still processing what they'd witnessed. "I guess some people can't handle honest questions," Tamron continued, doubling down. But you could see it in her eyes. You could hear it in her voice. She knew. Deep down, she knew she had messed up. She knew that this wasn't going to play well. She knew that trying to blame Samuel, trying to make him look like the bad guy, wasn't going to work. Because everyone had seen it. Everyone had heard every word. There was no editing this, no spinning it, no making it look like anything other than what it was. A respected actor had come onto her show in good faith, and she had attacked him. And when he stood up for himself, when he refused to be treated that way, she had doubled down instead of backing down. The studio crew started moving again, getting ready to go to commercial, to salvage what was left of the show. But the damage was done. This was the moment everyone would remember. Not whatever came before, not whatever would come after. This confrontation, this spectacular implosion of what should have been a simple, pleasant interview. Samuel was probably already in his car, already calling his team, already moving on with his day. But Tamron was stuck here, on her own stage, facing the consequences of her choices. And somewhere, in production booths and network offices and social media feeds that would soon be exploding with clips and commentary, people were realizing what they had just witnessed. Not just a dramatic moment, not just a heated exchange, but a master class in standing up for yourself. A perfect example of knowing your worth and refusing to let anyone diminish it. A reminder that respect is not negotiable, no matter who's asking you to compromise it. Samuel L. Jackson had walked onto that stage as a guest. He walked off as something more. A reminder that dignity and self-respect matter more than publicity, more than being polite, more than playing the game. And Tamron Hall, whether she realized it yet or not, had just learned one of the hardest lessons a talk show host can learn. You can have all the power in the room. You can control the cameras, the microphones, the narrative, but you cannot control how people react when you treat them poorly, and you cannot force someone to accept disrespect just because it's convenient for you. The show would go on. Tamron would finish her episode, probably with some damage. Control statement. The network would issue some carefully worded response. Everyone would try to move past this as quickly as possible, but this moment would live forever. In clips, in commentary, in conversations about respect and boundaries, and what happens when entitlement meets integrity. And every time someone asked about it, every time it came up, the answer would be the same. Samuel L. Jackson refused to be disrespected, and he walked away. Simple as that. No matter how much anyone tried to complicate it, to add context, to explain it away, that was the truth. He walked in expecting a conversation. He got an ambush, and he refused to sit there and take it. That's not dramatic. That's not oversensitive. That's not unprofessional. That's just called having standards. And on that day, in that studio, one person had them and one person didn't. The cameras made sure everyone could see which was which.